All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first parent webinar called A Balanced Approach to Technology Use and Youth's Well-Being. I'm happy to be here tonight. I'm Kellyanne Bull. I'm a superintendent with the Windsor Essex Catholic District School Board, and I have my team here, Anna Ulichny, who is one of our mental health professionals and who is skilled in psychoeducation. So Anna will be joining us from our Catholic board, and I'm happy to introduce our partner, the Windsor Essex County Health Unit. I'm going to turn it over to Christy to introduce herself and her team.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Christy Macbeth. I'm a senior director at the Windsor Essex County Health Unit. We're so happy to be here today in collaboration with our partners, Kellyanne and Anna, and everyone at our school boards. And so I'd like to introduce my team. It's Jillian Steiger and Ashley Kirby, who are two of our wonderful health promotion specialists that work on our comprehensive health promotion team. At the health unit. Kelly Ferrugia, who's the manager of that team, is also here, and they work very closely with our partners in education across Windsor Essex, and certainly, in particular the Windsor Essex Catholic District School Board on, certainly this topic and many, many other important components. Public health is a big part of our work that we do is with the school age population. So we're so happy to be here and support this work and the presentation today around a very important topic. So thanks again for your time, and we hope that you take away everything that you're looking for from tonight. So I'll turn it back over to Kellyanne, who's going to get us started.
Thank you, Christy. Welcome. This started out in the fall with a parent survey with our Parent Involvement Committee. And this is one of the top 3 topics that came back from parent voice on what mental health literacy they wanted to hear about. So reducing harmful distractions with technology was one of the topics. Supporting emotional regulation with children who are struggling with their emotional regulation, that was another topic, and coping strategies for general mental health concerns. So that was the top 3. We decided to start with this topic for tonight because it's very timely. You'll probably recall seeing a lot of information this year from our board on the provincial code of conduct and what school boards are being asked to do when it comes to providing a positive school climate in our schools. So we received policy program memorandums from the ministry, and one of them really talked about annual notification to parents and students regarding the restrictions of cell phone use in the classroom. And I think we all know that personal mobile device can really tend to affect our mental health if it's overused. So we're really trying to secure the time in the classroom for students' academic achievement and limiting the time of distractions in the classroom. We're also talking about student mental health tonight too, because we know that family mental health literacy is really important to help with our students as well. So thank you for coming tonight. It shows that you are invested in helping your children. We will be recording this workshop because that was one of the other asks from our parents, is that they wanted a recorded workshop that they could watch even if they couldn't attend the webinar. So we're trying to meet the needs of our community. This is our first time doing this. We're hoping you receive what you asked for, and we're going to get started. So I'm going to turn it over to Anna now to get us started.
Thanks, Kelly. So the session goals for today will begin with understanding how technology use may affect youth. This will be a very good time to also reflect on how we're using it as parents and guardians as well. So it's really a lot of that self-reflection, how to know if your child's use of technology can be termed as problematic. So we'll really be going through what is that problem technology use and positive ways to talk to your children about technology use. Working in this field, I know some of you parents might struggle with communicating that with your child, but we hope to give you some of those strategies while you leave here today to make this conversation a little bit more easier and to feel like you are well supported and well knowledgeable around problem technology use and the problematic behaviors that you may see, whether it's in yourself or your child and family. And of course, where to find help. We have a lot of good community partnerships. We also have a lot of good local resources that we hope you can take away after this webinar. So the reason why we wanted to start with this one is because youth face a variety of distractions, some of which can be very harmful, which we will dive deeper into this webinar. And the focus will be on technology. Social media will hint on some of the gaming, substance use, and other problematic behaviors and kind of what makes them like addictive. But overall, the goal of today is to empower our parents and caregivers with the knowledge and strategies to guide children towards making healthier choices. And the beauty of this webinar is that you can do this together as a family. You could even do that self-reflection, what we just talked about. I'm going to pass this over to Jillian and Ashley.
Okay, so you might be coming on today and wondering, is technology use harmful? Well, one thing that we should note is technology use is in our daily lives and it's here to stay. So it's important to find a balanced approach in order to use it. So there is no formal clinical diagnosis around addiction to technology. What the CAMHA, which is the Canadian Association for Mental Health, uses is a term of problematic technology use, problematic smartphone use, and problematic social media use. And why they use this instead of the word addiction is because it removes the stigma and people are more likely to talk about their use of these devices and are more likely to seek help. So what we're trying to highlight today is using more of a harm reduction approach and not completely removing devices and technology use from our daily lives, but taking a balanced approach and ensuring that we're using them as healthy as possible.
Thanks, Ashley. Going off of that, we can't remove technology from our everyday life, like Ashley was just saying, which is how this shows that digital technology is in our everyday life, right? I've highlighted the most common. We're always using our smartphones, computers. Your child may use game consoles, but just to highlight as well that technology is everywhere around us, whether you have a smart TV or there's an automatic door, the traffic lights. We are using technology on a daily basis, but when it starts to interfere with our everyday behaviors, it can impact our mental health, which is why we're here today.
So before we go more into talking about digital technology, we wanted to highlight how much screen time children and youth should be getting. So the Canadian 24-hour movement guidelines highlight the amount of recreational screen time, which recreational screen time is the amount of screen time people get when they're using one or more devices to do kind of sedentary behaviors. So this wouldn't include things like sitting at school, doing schoolwork, or using technology to learn. It's more of kind of sitting down, watching TV, using devices. It also wouldn't include if you're using technology in order to be physically active. So what's nice about this approach is it takes a 24-hour approach to look at how you spend all the hours of your day to kind of have a balanced approach and have the best healthy version of yourself. So why is this important? It's because if you're spending more time on one behavior and the other, it's kind of displacing that behavior. So for example, if your child is getting enough physical activity, so they're getting about 1 hour of physical activity a day, but they're spending more time on screens than what's recommended by these guidelines, it might be interfering with their sleep. So then they might be getting more sleep than what they need. So they're not kind of getting the best version of themselves. So you'll see that the guidelines outline the amount of screen time that's recommended per age group. And as you increase in age, it kind of the screen time increases. So they recommend that anyone under the age of 2 should not use screens if possible. And Jillian will kind of highlight the developmental stages of these in the coming slides. Anyone 2 till under the age of 4, it's recommended to get no more than 1 hour of screen time per day, with less being better. And children from the ages of 5 to 17, no more than 2 hours per day of recreational screen time. So you might be wondering, how are youth in Windsor-Essex County doing with these guidelines? So in 2023, the Health Unit partnered with the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, as well as local school boards, to get more data for the Ontario Student Drug Use and Health Survey than what they would usually get. So this allowed to get Windsor-specific data to kind of understand different health behaviors in our region. So what we found from that data was that 82% of youth in Windsor Essex in grades 7 to 12 are spending 3 or more hours daily on screens. And this actually increases as high as 52.6% of those youth are spending 5 or more hours on screens. So again, the screen time limit for that age group is 2 hours. Then of the screen time use, 50% of that use is on social media, and only about 62% are getting 62% of the students are getting 7 hours or less of sleep on a school night. So I want to highlight that for these age groups, for 5 to 13-year-olds, they need about 9 to 11 hours, and for 14 to 17-year-olds, they need 8 to 10 hours. So 62% are not meeting the sleep recommendations, while 32% are being physically active around the guidelines. So like I highlighted in the last slide, you'll see that when they're using more screens, it's likely they're getting less sleep and being less active, so they might not be as balanced and be getting the most health benefits out of their day.
Thanks, Ashley. So technology used in healthy development in preschoolers, so that's 0 to 5, we know from the literature that prolonged or excessive screen use can lower cognitive abilities in young children, especially in the areas of attention, early reading skills, and language development. With toddlers, they learn best through face-to-face interactions with parents and caregivers and educators. It's so engaging in live interactive experiences. So thus the recommendations with not very much screen time at that age category. And then for children age 2 to 4, high quality screen media that's well designed and educational can support early language and literacy skills when it's used alongside active participation from adults like parents or caregivers. And we call that co-viewing. And co-viewing is something that's really important to be aware of. So basically what it is it's when you are engaging in shared media with your kids. So that means that you're listening to their songs, or you're playing a game with them, or like a video game, because it's a great opportunity for you to help your kids think critically about the kind of media that they are intaking. Next slide, please. So technology used in healthy development in school-age children, so 5 to 12 years of age. So digital media can affect young people's thinking, their feeling, and health in both good and bad ways. And I think this goes back to the title of today's talk, is we really want to emphasize the need to take a balanced approach. So something that's less positive with this age group is media multitasking. So that's when kids are using several devices or several social media apps at once, or going back and forth between them, and that can hurt their sleep, their focus, their school performance, and social skills. And we know from the literature that kids age 5 to 8 are often trying to multitask with media, even though we do know that it makes it harder to read, problem solve, and feel like you're doing a good job with your homework. Again, the balanced approach, some of the positive things. So we know from the literature that recreational screen time of just 1 hour a day may lower the risk of depression compared to no screen time. And then we also know that digital technology can help kids build and maintain friendships, especially through games. And we see this a lot as a way that boys interact and socialize through gaming. Next slide, please. Thank you. So why are youth, so teens, more vulnerable to overuse of technology? And there's a couple of different variables that come together. First, there's brain development. So teens' brains, their reward system is that much more sensitive. So they're kind of more primed for things that lead to instant gratification and that kind of thing. The other thing is peer influence. So young people are really impacted by their peer groups. So social circles play a really significant role in shaping behavior. So when you're that age, you might be more inclined to want to stay online and chat with your friends, or engage in risk-taking behavior and that kind of thing. The other thing that people do is social comparison. There's also the variable is cyberbullying, that can add to some of those vulnerabilities. And then finally, young people have not fully developed the ability to regulate emotions. And so we find that on occasion, teens tend to, or they may be at risk of using technology as a way of coping with stress or anxiety or boredom. Next slide, please. So technology use in brain development in adolescence. So there's changes going on in the areas that are responsible for making decisions, controlling impulses, and managing emotions. So the blue section of the brain is referred to as the prefrontal cortex, and that helps with planning and self-control. And it is not fully developed in young kids until they are in their mid-20s. So this means that teenagers may be more likely to engage in risk-taking behaviors. And then neuroscientists talk about the push-pull in the teen brain. So they have this prefrontal cortex that's not fully developed. And then they have this overly active limbic system, which is linked to emotions and rewards. And that's more active when you're in your teens. So that's the push-pull. And again, just to sort of balance out positives with technology use, the digital world can help support some really important adolescent milestones, including social connectedness with peers, sense of identity, sense of autonomy, and developing independence from family. Next slide, please. Technology use in brain function. So gaming and gambling. So like I said before, young brains are primed. So the reasons for this would be dopamine release. So technology like social media and gaming makes the brain's reward system work by releasing a chemical called dopamine. And dopamine is connected to feelings of pleasure and motivation. And then combine that with instant gratification when we use technology like a lot, like scrolling through feeds. It gives us a lot of quick rewards, and this can create a habit where our brains look for more quick rewards, making us want even more instant gratification. So next slide, please.
Thanks, Jillian. So this slide here just highlights how we can understand addictive behaviors in youth. So what addiction is exactly, it refers to any behavior that is out of control in some way. So for example, we can be addicted to a TV show, or we can be addicted to that cup of coffee in the morning. So it's when we can experience some withdrawal. So something that a lot of you might relate to is when we don't have that cup of coffee in the morning. We feel like we can't go about our day. We may start experience a headache, which would be similar to that withdrawal because we haven't had that first cup. And until we get that cup of coffee, the effects that it has on our body is maybe we get rid of that headache, we feel increased energy, we feel like we can go amongst our day and complete the tasks that we normally do. So that is essentially what the addictive behaviors means. However, when we look at the 4 C's of addiction. Now, this is in general. We can look at this specifically for technology use. We can look at it for substance use, whether you're looking at it with that cup of coffee or whether or not your child is on their screens quite frequently. This is very general, and this is from the Centers for Addiction and Mental Health. And if you look at these 4 things, the first one is craving. So are we craving like that piece of chocolate, or are we craving that time to get home and go on our screens? The loss of control of the amount or frequency of use. If we feel like there's a compulsion to use it and we use it despite the consequences of it. So these are considered the 4 C's of addiction. And when we look at these, we can apply them to our daily lives in any single form, but specifically for any addictive behavior, you can use it. So this is from School Mental Health Ontario, which I just want to highlight here is a really good resource that the school board gives to parents, caregivers, and as well as educators and students. They have a variety of resources on here that you can look at. And what the research says is that the more hours per day that a young person spends on screens, the greater the risk of developing problems with their mental health, which yes, it is one of the reasons why we are here today, but we're also really going to dive into this quote here and how we can start noticing mental health concerns in our child due to problematic technology use. So we want to highlight that technology can be used for many good things. And when it starts to interfere with our everyday lives, that's kind of when we might see some problematic behaviors. So in our schools, we use technology for a variety of things. First being, we use technology as a tool for learning. We use interactive whiteboards, we use Google Classroom. We have a lot of educational apps that we use with our students to make sure that they are learning. And we can be very flexible with our technology. Technology can be used as a communication tool. So with our parents and caregivers via our school messenger, as well as with students, especially students who might have some form of disability. We use that communication tool with them that is a piece of technology so that we can make sure that they're able to learn in a healthy environment, in a safe environment. It can also be used as an accommodation strategy. So reading and writing, we use iPads or Chromebooks, and language interpretation, which goes off of that communication tool as well. Now, the observations that we've seen in students, especially coming back to school and not having access as often to their cell phones or the limitations that are on their Chromebooks, it begins with our digital distractions. So what we see in students every day in the classroom is that there's difficulty focusing on schoolwork at the assigned task because they constantly are thinking of, oh, when I get home from school, I can't wait to go on my iPad or talk to my friend on Fortnite or whatever game that they played. So they often seem to be distracted with those thoughts. And we put the blue light here, which is the blue light that emits from your screen. And oftentimes when we're using our screens, or maybe we're using it at night, this doesn't allow us to get a good night's sleep. So what we see is kids being on their phones all night and they're not getting a good enough sleep because it's distracting them from falling asleep and getting into that REM sleep, which is that deep sleep, which is what we want. They come to school often more tired. And maybe you've seen that in yourself too. You couldn't fall asleep, so you were on your phone late at night, and then you were tired the next morning or you missed your alarm and you felt really groggy, right? So that's why they also say try to use your phone or piece of technology about an hour to 2 hours before you wake up. We see a lot of these withdrawal symptoms, and I don't want to touch too much on this because I know Jillian has it in a really good slide of hers, but more of that fidgeting use because when they were often bored in class, especially in a high school setting, students would automatically go on their phone if they were bored or disinterested into the curriculum, and they had that phone as an outlet. But now that that piece is taken away, they're unsure how to occupy their mind or to get them back on track. We see a decrease in social skills, especially with COVID. We were always behind a screen, so we see a lack in those social emotional learning skills, which we highlight as a board, and we try to really implement the social emotional learning into our curriculum. They use a lot of slang or terminology from games or peers. Being a mental health worker in the schools, I hear a lot of slang, and it's, yes, I can build rapport with kids from that, but then it doesn't allow them to, speak, let's say, in a professional way, for example, because they're so used to the terminology that they would use with their peers or from gaming, which doesn't allow them to form meaningful and healthy relationships. And that's where a lot of these mental health concerns start to come in because they are seeing some of that anxiety behaviors or that loneliness from being isolated from that face-to-face interaction. And when we talk about mental health, is that a lot mental health can really impact us when we don't feel connected to others. And in order to feel connected with others, yes, it can be from a screen, but it's those meaningful connections, which is those face-to-face interactions. And we see a lot of our students being unable to talk in front of people, whether it's in a small group or whether it's they're just sitting next to somebody, and it's very difficult for them to communicate with others because they're so used to having it on a phone. And I've actually worked with students who would say, no, I can't talk to this student, miss. And I would say, well, why not? And they said, well, I'm just going to text them. And I said, well, tell me about that more. Why is it we feel more comfortable behind a screen and not in front of other people? So we're really trying to teach our students to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, to teach them the skills that they need so they can be successful. We see a lot of the decreased self-esteem, which is, that comparison to others and the doom scrolling. Um, the doom scrolling is just when we're on a social media platform and then we find ourselves constantly, finding ourselves down the rabbit hole. We're constantly comparing ourselves or then going back to that instant gratification and the dopamine release, whether it's TikTok, we will keep scrolling to watch videos until we get that video where we can make that connection, go, okay, this is what I wanted. And then that algorithm comes in. When we finally watch a video that we like, it takes note of what we liked so then we can keep seeing it again. And oftentimes, because of social media, we seek that validation through others and we start to compare, well, this person has this and I don't have that. And it just decreases someone's self-esteem immensely. And a lot of the times that a student will talk to me when we're exploring our coping strategies, and about 90% of the time, their first identified coping strategy is I go on my phone. And it's exploring, well, what is it on your phone that, makes you feel calm? And they're unable to highlight the other areas of their life where they feel at ease, whether it's talking to a friend or a family member, or maybe they like drawing, because we rely on our phones for so much, because there's so much that we can do with this small piece of technology. And there's so much that we can gain from it, both negative and positive.
So, like some of the signs that Anna just highlighted that they're seeing in schools, you might be wondering how to know if your child's digital technology use is problematic or if they're taking a balanced approach. So, again, you can start by looking at how much time they're spending on their devices, but it's also important to identify problems that you might be seeing early before they get too big. So, here are a few signs that you might want to watch out for as parents or caregivers. So, the first being, is your child spending more time on screens and less on enjoyable activities they used to be more interested in? So often they find that technology can be a powerful crowding out effect. So this means that the use of devices kind of replace activities or interests that they used to be interested in. Another being, does your child use of digital technology get in the way of their ability to do things that are expected of them for their age and developmental stage? So you may find that your child is less involved in friendships or participating less in family life or neglecting activities. You may also find tasks that were very simple before are now much harder to get them to do, like getting ready for school or a bedtime routine, things like that, because it's being interrupted by devices. Another is, are the devices interrupting their sleep? So is your child on their device in the room, staying up too late, doing that scrolling, being exposed to the blue light that's affecting their melatonin release? Are they getting less sleep or poor quality sleep because of their device use? Or are they playing video games right before bed and maybe they're kind of feeling a little bit amped up and excited and it's taking them longer to fall asleep at night? Another being, are you seeing a change in their mood? So are they feeling more irritable or anxious or sad, or maybe less interested in things they used to enjoy? So they might be having a change. The excessive use of screens might be changing their mental health a bit and impacting their mental health and changing their brain function. So maybe you're finding that they're less able to control their emotions or respond to different experiences in their life with different emotions than they'd usually respond with. So you might see them having more worries or just a lower mood in general. Are they overly concerned with their online presence? So are you seeing them use social media apps a lot or being very worried about what they look like in pictures or who's posting what on social media or comparing their life maybe to what their friends are posting on social media or having unrealistic views about themselves or body image or their lifestyle? Another might be, are they less engaged in school? So maybe you're hearing from their teachers or just seeing their grades and you're worried about maybe they're not doing their schoolwork anymore and not as interested in getting things done because they're more worried about what's happening in the virtual world or being on their devices and communicating with peers. Are they spending money online? Might be another indication. So you're hearing more reports of teens gambling or doing other purchasing online. So you might want to look into kind of what they're doing and how they're using their devices to make sure you know what kind of apps and how they're spending their money.
Hi. Okay, so that's me. So could your child be experiencing withdrawal from their tech use? So excessive gaming and technology use can be problematic. Your child can experience withdrawal effects. And what do withdrawal effects look like? They include symptoms like intense cravings to use technology, irritability, anxiety, depressed mood, finding activities extremely boring that are not technologically based, preoccupied with wanting to be on screen, and then finally, actual physical symptoms such as headaches, lack of energy, and of course, sleep difficulties when use is limited.
And I just quickly want to touch on this, Jillian, is that this will look different depending on the age of your child. Uh, your your teen compared to JKSK student, it will look differently because a child's language is their behavior. So for a 4-year-old, it will be based on their development, and we can look at this differently, and the strategies that you use with your child will have to be more age appropriate. But you'll see a lot more maybe in a 4-year-old having a temper tantrum when you take away that screen, as opposed to, a teenager who might just be completely on their phone, not removing it, and then they're getting those physical symptoms. So at the end of the day, we're not trying to tell everybody that technology is bad and you should remove it from your life completely, because as we know, this probably isn't realistic, but it is beneficial to have a balanced technology use, which is why we're here. And we can learn how to do this in many different ways. And we can learn to balance the different types of activities into active time, learning time, and screen time.
So you might be wondering at this point, as a parent or caregiver, what can I actually do about technology use in my home? So you actually have quite a bit of options that you can do as a parent or caregiver, and the key is to pay attention and get involved and model positive habits for children and youth. So the Canadian Pediatric Society outline a 4M model, which kind of can be used to strategize ways to better use technology in your house. So the 4M stand for manage, meaningful, model, and monitor. So manage means to manage screen through the use of plans, rules, and setting limits. And this can be done with child depending on their age. Meaningful means encourage more meaningful screen use so that time spent on online serves a purpose. For example, it's been really cold lately, so maybe you were using screens to do some physical activity inside because you wanted to be moving and it was too cold to go outside with younger children. Model. So model balanced screen use because your kids are watching. So you have the power to kind of show your household maybe more healthy habits and get them to kind of buy in and do the same. And monitor. So watch for the signs that we've highlighted and decide if screen use is becoming a problem, and don't hesitate to reach out for help if you think that will benefit your family or your child. So now this slide is going to outline how to actually practically use the 4Ms and how strategies would fall underneath them. So for example, under manage, you could make a family media plan. So what this means is you could make a plan to decide who's allowed to use which devices, which apps, what websites, what kind of TV shows people are allowed to watch based on their age or developmental stage, when you can watch these, and where you could watch these. So for example, you can set screen-free times or zones. So you might have family meals where no screens are allowed at the table, or screen-free zones. So maybe before you go to bed at night, you require your children or youth to put their phones in a certain spot so you know that they're actually getting sleep and not sitting in their rooms using devices. Be present and engage when screens are used. So if someone is using a device and someone starts talking to them, let them know that you're listening and not just using your device and ignoring them and kind of stuck on them. Discourage media multitasking. So Jillian highlighted that before. So try to only use one device or app at a time and not be scrolling between different apps and splitting up your attention span. Learn about different parental controls and privacy settings. And when your children are older, maybe let them know that you're actually putting some of these in place so they can develop trust. And talk about their behavior online. So let them know how you expect them to act and what you expect them to do on these apps to make sure that if something were to happen, they would take responsibility for their behavior. Meaningful. So make sure that routines come first and technology doesn't get in the way of them. Encourage your children to watch shows that help them learn and educate them and not just sitting there watching shows that kind of overstimulate them. Help them to choose content appropriate for their age and stage and make sure they know what you think is appropriate for them. Be a part of their media life. So join in. So if they are playing video games, maybe ask to join in and better understand the different games they're playing or the apps they're using. So you have a better idea of a parent what they're being exposed to on these apps. So model. So again, this is one of the most important. Maybe step back and review and reflect how you're using digital technology and try and make small changes to better help your children make these changes as well. Encourage daily free screen time with your family. So this could be something like playing a board game or even just talking about your day and sharing different things with your family. Turn off screens that aren't being used so they're not distracting in the background. Like Anna said, avoid screens 1 hour before bed to help your body get ready for sleep. And another important thing is to keep screens out of the bedroom. So when it is time to sleep, no one's tempted to actually go on and start using them. And the last one being monitor or watch. So you're looking for signs that the screen use might become a problem. Preparing yourself to talk to your child about screen time use or when you notice signs. And don't hesitate or to reach out for more help if the strategies that we've talked about aren't working, because you know your child best. And if you feel that this isn't working, don't hesitate to reach out because there's lots of help out there. So you have these strategies now that you might want to implement, but you're wondering how can you best talk to your kids about these strategies and have the best outcome from talking to them. So the most important part is how you approach your child and talk to them about what you're worried about. So ways to prepare for this is to plan ahead for the conversation you're going to have rather just reacting in the moment. So you've listened to this webinar now, maybe you've learned a few things that you feel more confident in. There's going to be resources shared at the end. Maybe you can look through these resources to find more tips of kind of what you want to talk to them about. Make sure you use supportive language and kind of meet them where they're at so you're understanding kind of where they're coming from too. And listen to them and allow them to share their thoughts and feelings about technology use so you can get more buy-in and better understand how they're using the technology and kind of what needs they feel are being met through them. And maybe there's other ways you can look to replace them. If they feel that a lot of their social connectedness is coming through the using of video games or social media apps, maybe there's a way that they can still use these things, but make sure they're balancing them within recommended guidelines while also still getting social connectedness with peers through other avenues, like making sure they're hanging out with friends in person more often with devices put away. And then work together to set goals. So when you work with your child to establish goals that are age appropriate for their technology use and support them in making these changes, they can learn skills and help limit their use. So it's difficult for anyone to change health behaviors, but when they're part of the change, they're more likely to buy into them. And if you're using more of a let's slowly decrease and work towards our goal instead of cutting off screens completely, they're more likely to change behavior over time. And starting a conversation could be as simple as saying, "Hey, I've noticed that you haven't been playing outside with your friends as much after school, or you haven't been reading books like you used to. I'm wondering what's going on and how can we switch that up a little bit?" So remember, you know your child best and make sure you feel confident going into it and work together to make the change.
So digital media literacy and digital citizenship. So it's really important. We all need to know how to access digital media, how to use it, how to understand it, and how to engage with it to its full potential. Kids are learning that in school, they learn it at home. We adults are learning that at the same time. We want to have kids and adults that have good digital literacy skills because we want to be raising good digital citizens. So being a good digital citizen means that you help make your online community healthy and supportive. It means that you are able to use digital spaces safely and responsibly. And it also means being active and respectful when you are online. So those are things that they'll learn at school and they'll learn it at home. And it's important to be all of us to be good digital citizens. Oh, sorry, I did have one other thing I wanted to say, just that at the end of the presentation tonight, there's some really great resources. I think digital citizenship is really an interesting concept. And so locally, Youth Diversion here in Windsor, Essex has great resources. And then there's also an organization called Media Smarts, which is really excellent for families to take a visit and just, they have so many good resources. It's worth taking a look. Thanks.
So you might be wondering, besides this webinar, what else can we do to raise awareness about digital technology use and its effect on children and youth? So many of you might have heard of the Break the Vape challenge that we ran last year, or the videos. So what it was is a public service announcement challenge that rose awareness around vaping and the effects. Well, this year we are doing the same thing, but the topic is changing and we're looking at digital technology. So we'll be using the same student-led concept where students will be asked to create 30-second videos that include facts and calls to action around how digital technology affects their mental health and well-being. So this contest will open April 1st with a submission period lasting from April 1st to 30th and will be open to students in grades 6 to 12. And again, prizes will be awarded for winning videos. So the challenge uses very much a youth engagement approach. So this means that we involve students at every step of the contest development, as well as the videos that are selected. So students have been involved in choosing the name that we're just finalizing, as well as helping design logo, and students will then, once all the videos are submitted, they will pick the top 10 videos that are moving on to public voting. So stay tuned for more information on that. You'll be seeing more information on that challenge in the coming weeks.
And as part of the WEC-DSB, one of our big initiatives here is student voice, which is why this public service announcement has been so important to us, because a lot of the things that we do are for the students and the families, and we want to really empower students to be the change. And we implement this throughout all of our schools, where students are really highlighting the importance of mental health prevention and promotion. And whether this is at our grade 7 retreats that we do, we are always seeking ways to incorporate the students. So this has been one of those great things that we've partnered up with, and we're excited to roll it out. So thanks, Ashley, for going through that. Going off of some resources, which we will be sending participants a one-pager of these resources, but we just wanted to highlight a few. One of the big ones, well, they're all pretty big, but one of the big ones on here that I love and I have used personally is the We Connect Kids. And this is a coordinated access through Hotel Dieu Hospital. And if you call this number and you have any form of concern, you need a suggestion, you need a community resource to access, they will take your information and they will give you the best appropriate service for you, your family, or your child. And it's very time efficient. It's quick, and you can get that information immediately. Youth Diversion, we talked on, they do a lot of engagement around the digital citizenship, like Jillian was talking about. Of course, our partner, the Health Unit, Kids Help Phone, Canadian Mental Health Association. These are all some really great websites to get information, especially like information pages and to access services for your family. One Stop Talk is another great one. They offer 1 hour free mental health counseling for your child. It is dependent on the age. However, as a parent, you can use this as well. It's free, it's confidential, it's with a trained mental health professional. And if you want some of that ongoing support, they can connect you with the appropriate community support for your specific concern. Going on, so Youth Wellness Hub, we have Youth Wellness Hub there on Eugenie, and this is a great resource as well. They provide walking counseling for children and youth. And when I say children and youth, I'm also talking about teens and adolescents. It's used interchangeably, but they also offer some groups and programming, whether it be cooking related courses. It's a really great center to check out. They're amazing. And we try to tell students that, if they're wanting something to do and they can, bring their families and go to this center, especially for the walk-in counseling, they're really great. And We Raise Our Children is a website that I believe is focused on the digital technology, right, Ashley and Jillian?
It has that as well as a lot of other resources that parents can use for growth and development type of questions.
Beautiful. Yeah, so feel free to check that out. Once again, you will be getting a one-pager, and maybe you need some late night reading, or you need a break from, some other things if you do get a limited break. But I know time is limited here. I just wanted to highlight our WEC-DSB Wellness Postcard. This was an initiative that we've done this year, and we've handed out this postcard to every single grade 6 to 8 person in our school board. And it highlights the people that somebody can turn to in our school as well as in the community, because our students aren't with us all the time, but we also want parents to know that this is out there, so that if their student or if their child is struggling, they can refer to our postcard for supports. And it depends whether you're secondary or elementary. For example, student success teacher isn't available in an elementary level, but some CYWs are board wide. So it does depend on the school that you might go to, but realistically, all we want is that we are committed to working with you and your child to make sure that your student is able to return to class and be successful both in and outside of the classroom. And we are willing to support you with any challenges that you may have. And then in the community, of course, because students aren't always with us, some great resources to turn to are highlighted here. The We Connect Kids One Stop Talk, and Youth Wellness Hub. And of course, if there's a life at risk, whether it's your child or yourself, a loved one, please dial 911 and go to your local emergency department. These are some more resources that you'll be getting. The media plan is out here for you, as well as School Mental Health Ontario. I cannot stress this enough. School Mental Health really has everything a parent would need about noticing mental health concerns in your child. They just came out with a By Your Side series, and they have really good information sheets on talking to your child about mental health and being able to support their well-being. And of course, there's a lot of activities at home for social emotional learning for younger grades. There's a variety of resources. So these are all accessible to you. You will be getting all of these. They will be posted for you, as well as this webinar will be posted as well. Kelly?
Thank you, Anna. As you can see, it is a very important topic and timely topic for mental health literacy, and you can understand why the ministry and the board has made this such a priority for our students. When you posted questions with your registration, most of the questions that you were looking for tonight as parents were how to talk to your children, how much is too much technology, and what strategies can I do to help my child? So that is what we really focused on tonight based on your feedback. It was great to hear Ashley talking about balance. I'm hoping that you heard that message too. Anna mentioned a little bit about how we are supporting our students in the school, just basically about the relationship skills and how they are starting to become at risk with too much technology use. So it's important as parents that you're here tonight, and I'm so thankful you are here because it's so important for you to understand the why, right? And to understand that this begins with awareness, and then you're here tonight. So now the next step is, how do you have those conversations with your children? Ashley highlighted the 4 M's, and I think it's a great place to begin. There's a lot there. So what one thing can you pick tonight to talk with your children about? You don't have to do everything, right? You may just start co-viewing things with students. You may start asking your children to talk about their group chats with you just to see, tell me about that. Why do you like that so much? And is it bringing you joy? You know, things like that. I think just starting with the conversations, modeling your use, starting your family media plan, and just starting to talk about it, I think is a very important step. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to Anna and Jillian and Ashley for their expertise with this. I'm very thankful to our health unit, and I'm looking forward to working together with all of you parents as well. We do have a brief survey we would love for you to participate in. You can scan the code. As Anna said, we will also be posting some resources. So what we will do, we will post this video of this webinar on our website along with the resources too. I'll work it out with Ashley, but if we have the emails from everybody who was here tonight, we can also email those out to you as well. So that is all we have for you this evening. Thank you for joining us, and reach out if you need anything. Okay, thank you.